Welcome everyone to the podcast, recording live at the NCM Fuel the Future Fixed Op Summit. Man, I'm going to get it right. One of these interviews.
Eventually.
Eventually. It's awesome too, because I love that, we're fueling the future. But I have Guav here with, did I say it right?
Gaurav.
Gaurav. It's Guav.
You're good. Yeah.
I'm sorry. With my karma. So what brings you into the event? Like, because this is the first time they're doing this event. So what brought you
Well,
out?
what brought me here is I wanted to meet with a lot of the dealers that attend. You have really good attendance with dealers, and we're a vendor that works with a lot of dealerships in the service lane technology in the fixed operation space.
Yeah.
And this was a good opportunity for us to interact with dealers and, essentially present around topics that we think would be of interest to dealers. So
Yeah.
I have a little speaking engagement today, a 30-minute presentation on AI and, how to differentiate what we call shiny object AI versus, value-driven AI.
Yeah, I love the title. I saw that. I'm like, yeah, it is a thing. It's like the shiny object right now of AI, and
Yeah.
how can we improve? How can we use it? So tell me just like the quick, what do you guys do? I know what you guys do, but like, I guess the question is, what problem are you guys solving?
So we solve a lot of problems that have to do ultimately with customer satisfaction and customer retention. And the idea, or we started with a very simple hypothesis back in the day that if a customer's service experience is seamless and is, friction-free, that, they are likely to come back into the dealership because guess what? They were told proactively where their car was, they could easily schedule appointments. They got to know exactly what was being recommended by the technician, not by an advisor, or, it came from the source of truth, which is the technician working on the car.
Yeah.
They know exactly how much things are going to cost. They can view their invoice. They can pay for it online before showing up. So both a, friction-free and a convenient sort of service experience. And that's kind of the hypothesis we started with back in the day, 2011, 2012, when we launched our platform. And that's when we saw a lot of dramatic improvements in CSI and,
That's a big deal.
dealer gross and CPRO, uplift and all kinds of metrics started getting impacted. And we didn't even go in trying to impact those metrics, but we found out that, when you make your processes really good for the consumers,
Yeah.
that it produces, an oversized impact.
It really does. And that's such a big, how do I say this? Like it's such a big problem in the industry, the process of streamlining the customer experience, and just keeping up with other industries and what they're doing. Cause that's the expectation now. We can't we have to meet the customer where they want to be met. We can't force them into what we think the old way of doing things, I guess is the right way to say it, right?
Yeah. And the big thing that we follow is, put yourself in the shoes of the customer, right? Of the end customer. And so as customers, what do we expect our experience to be? You're busy, you're looking at 30 things, do you want to install another app? Do you want to do, what is the best way to reach out to your dealership? So we figured that, we want to do it over texting, because we want to check with the advisor. I'm in a meeting. I want to say, hey, where's my car at? Is it going to be ready by 5? And I don't have the time to call, or if the advisor calls me, they usually get a voicemail because I'm in meetings all day. So, I mean, in real world, we put ourselves in the shoes of the customer and said, how would a customer want to interact with their dealership? And that's what we focused on in the beginning, in the early days, and then, dove deeper into the back end of how a dealership works and, how their processes need to become more efficient in order to serve their customers better.
Yeah. And wasn't there a stat earlier in one of the presentations of text messages? Like there's a certain percentage people prefer it. It was like over 50%.
Oh yeah, now it's become ubiquitous. It's just such a
And people don't really ignore their text.
yeah, they don't unless
Unless it's spammy, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
unless
it's
it's
like spam.
spamming and abuse, and
Yeah,
you
that's a whole
you
other
get to it.
topic.
But
Yeah.
the phones these days and the networks have gotten pretty good at identifying what is spam versus what is not spam. And
Mhm.
the good thing is when we implement, let's say, a solution like ours, or I'm sure there are others do it too.
Mhm.
There's a special protocol. It's called A2P protocol. So you need to get certified by the carriers that say, oh, this phone number that's being used by a dealership is HP certified, so they're not going to block that number.
Mhm.
They're going to not mark it as spam. It means
Oh.
it's sort of guaranteed to deliver to the customer.
Yeah, that's a big deal. A
Yeah,
small piece that you don't quite
yeah,
think
you
that
don't
is
think
part.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, we've got AI built into recognizing when a customer doesn't want to be texted. For example,
That's a good yeah.
most standard tools will just say you need to send us the word stop, STOP, in order to stop texting.
Mhm.
But there's a California Ninth Circuit ruling that says even if a customer says I don't want to be texted at this number again ever, you have to honor it.
Yeah.
It's not just the keyword stop. So how do you figure that out without a human looking at the text message? And so I think we had implemented AI when it wasn't even called AI in a big way back in 2016 to detect the opt outs where customers wanting to opt out.
So that brought me to a question, where you guys implemented AI before it was actually really AI or called that in a big
Well, I
way.
was called, but
Yeah.
not known in a big way.
Not
Yeah,
known in a big way.
yeah.
So that was 2016. Now we're, that's 10 years ago.
That's 10 years ago.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
I just realized that.
yeah.
So now fast forward 10 years, what are some of the really exciting things that because we can move so much faster with our technology and our products
Yeah.
with AI.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you guys are that you can talk about that are really exciting that you're just,
Sure.
yeah.
So I think we attack all the different um, different parts of the fixed operations journey or the service journey for a customer. So all the way from you wanting to call in, let's say it's you're done with dinner, it's 9:30 p.m. and you want to schedule an appointment.
Mhm.
Guess what? Most dealership operations are closed at that time. So you
Yeah.
call them, you're going to get a voicemail. So how do you schedule an appointment? You're not that tech savvy to go onto a website. You want to be able to schedule
Well, and
an
there's so
appointment.
many questions.
Yeah, and so many questions. So with our, service concierge technology, you can call in and the call will actually be handled by an AI agent that sounds like a human.
Mhm.
They don't say that they're a human. They will actually say that you're talking to an AI,
Okay.
but they will be able to answer most questions that you have. What are the dealership operation hours? Can I bring in my car on Friday? Oh, let me check the availability for you. They'll go check the availability and say, oh, we don't have an availability. When would you like to come in? What type of car you have. They'll even make corrections. If you say, oh, I've got a Mercedes 2027 Mercedes EQE, it'll say, oh, there's no car like that. Did you mean 2026?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll correct you on that.
That's really good.
It can actually pull up your information specifically based on your phone number. So if you've been to the dealership before, it'll actually pull up your information and say, oh, Kaylee, you've come in, you own this. Are you bringing in that car?
Mhm.
So it'll actually do the full booking process without a human involvement.
Wow.
The second part of it is during the appointment process, we've got another product called Pre-Diag that you might have said that, oh, I get a noise or a vibration when I'm driving and, I want that looked at. And so once you're done with the appointment, it'll say, hey, would you like to answer a few questions about the problem you just described? And it'll go down a specific path. This is not a generic sort of path that'll walk you down, but specific to your car, saying, okay, does the thing happen, the vibration happen at specific speeds? If it does, what speed? Do you notice it when you turn? Do you turn left, turn right? It'll walk you down that whole path. And the reason to do that is because when a technician is working on your car, they usually need all that information to diagnose a problem properly. What happens in real world is the technician has your car up on the list and he gets a appointment or a line written up on the repair order that says customer complains of vibration. What do they do with it?
Yeah.
And so they go back to the advisor and say, hey, can you reach out to the customer and get me more detail?
Uh-huh.
And so the advisor tries to call you, and guess what? You're in a meeting, so you don't answer. So now they have to either make an assumption that, oh, this is probably what it is and try to fix that,
Yeah.
or bring the car down, put it back and wait until the customer responds, work on it, right? And even then, they're not going to get the full clarity because it's not the tech talking to the customer to ask all these counter questions. It's the advisor kind of translating for the tech what
And
they
they're
need.
busy and
They're
yeah.
busy. So we do that as part of the scheduling process. So the
Wow.
AI and the voice will actually ask you all
And it
these
knows the
questions.
questions to ask.
Yeah, and it'll summarize that for the technician, put it as a story for the technician to
And I
look
would
at.
imagine too, it summarizes it when they're checking in the customer. So, because I've gone before and they're like, "What are you here?" I was like, "Well, you know, you should know what I'm here for,"
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like,
exactly,
and then I have to
exactly.
re-explain what's going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm imagining that's you guys
yeah,
summarize that too, so
yeah,
people know.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that's one part of it, and then on the back end part of it, we were the first ones to introduce videos for technicians back in the day, and
That's a
now it's
big deal.
become ubiquitous, and so. Um, One of the things that we've done is we've been building a lot of AI capability into the video taking process itself.
Mhm.
The biggest one being, we can do noise reduction. So in a shop, which was very noisy, and the
Yes.
technician is working on your car and there are air guns going on in the back, we actually reduce the noise automatically. We use AI to put filters
That's
and
awesome.
clean that up. So that's
Yeah.
one. We do automatic closed captioning. So again, you could be in a meeting as a customer. You can't play it, the audio, because you can hear it, but you can play the video and just watch the closed captioning and see what the technician is saying.
Yeah.
We do an AI summary. We also do a translation. So a technician could be speaking in Spanish, or a native Spanish speaker doesn't speak in English, and your customer speaks in English. So I will record the video in Spanish as a technician. When it gets sent to you, you will see the voice lay over in English.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many of these things are kind of built into the tool. The biggest one, though, that we're seeing a lot of results from is what we call a video grader. So we take a technician video and we grade it based on like 18 different criteria.
Mhm.
All the way from, did the technician greet properly? Did they use the right terminology? Did they use any profanity or not? Probably, hopefully not.
Hopefully.
Did they use a tire gauge, to show the actual tire depth, tread depth, or did they just eyeball it? So many of those things we automatically run a video through AI. It takes about 3 minutes to grade a video,
Mhm.
and we produce a video grade. And that in itself, increases the quality of videos that's being
That's a
produced.
big
So
deal, yeah.
it's not like a technician does a 4-second, video and sends it over to the customer just to get a check to say, the technician has done a video.
And most technicians like to do things really well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
giving them a grade on how they can, showing them how they can improve. And it's automatically happening. It's not
Yeah.
anyone having to oh, Bob, you sent out a really crappy video to so and so.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's a good
Yeah.
process to
And then
have.
there are many like small little things, with AI that have been incorporated just as a core part of our tool. Again, these were done back in the day when AI was no longer, considered like the ubiquitous thing it is right now.
Yeah.
But things like, autocomplete, or suggesting a response to a customer, or detecting based on the customer's response if the customer is unhappy or not, or happy,
Oh yeah.
and then setting escalation rules that say, oh, the customer is unhappy, escalate it to the manager. The manager needs to look at this. Or even detecting that this customer is expecting a response back,
Mm.
or this customer is not expecting a response back. If they are expecting a response back, to then also escalate if the advisor hasn't responded to within like 10 minutes.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
being able to do that. So a lot of these things are just
Automating.
incorporated
Yeah.
into the workflow, and that's what makes it different.
That's amazing.
So that's why shiny object versus workflow driven, that's embedded in everything you do.
Yeah,
You know.
great way to summarize that
Yeah.
into it, because that's so important. It's not just like a plug and play kind of. You have to really customize
Yeah, you
your
have
work,
to, you
because
have to.
everyone kind of has a little bit different of a workflow,
Yeah,
right?
you
So
have to walk the talk,
you have to, yeah.
and so part of our implementation is our implementation consultants will walk the drive with you, will understand, what the true, how the product should be customized. So we have
Mhm.
so many switches in the back. The system can be configured in a million different ways. So to know exactly how to configure it for the right situation and what the dealer wants.
That's a
And
big
maybe
deal.
there's something that we don't do, and we will let the dealer know that this is something we cannot do, what you're asking us to, but we can incorporate it
Yeah, and
into
oh,
our
that's a great
platform.
idea.
Yeah, that's a
We
great
should
idea. We'll
test
put that in. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad
Yeah.
I got to learn more about what you guys do.
Yeah.
I'm all about the scheduling, fixing that, because
Yeah.
As a consumer, I'm like, this, why is this so hard? It shouldn't
Exactly.
be.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
on.
Thank you.